This is Holly once more. Today I was going to vlog about the Backlist Readathon that I was supposed to finish, I think this Monday or Tuesday. Monday, I think, but I stretched it 2 days because of the situation that everybody is talking about. Because I have 3 kids and they're all at home these days, and finding time to record or even read is difficult, to say the least. But I finished most of the books that I was going to read. I was going to read Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, and I did. Well, actually I listened to the audiobook version and I was not disappointed. It's been years since I've read or listened to. I've never actually listened to an audiobook of her books before, but it's been years since I've read one of her books, and I think I've actually ever read 2, and I don't even remember which ones they were. I think I was like a teenager or something, so years ago. But I was not disappointed. Oh man, Agatha Christie's books are just so good. I know they're kind of formulaic, you might say, but I just like that formula a lot. And I love the way that all of these bits and pieces of information are kind of weaved together, and Hercule Poirot, or however you say his name, is unwinding the threads and exploring the theories at the same time you as a reader are, and then using kind of the rule of elimination, he gets to the conclusion which is the truth. And man, I saw Death on the Nile as a TV adaptation, and it was good then, and I kind of had a suspicion because I didn't really remember how it went, but I kind of remembered I had a suspicion that was the way it went, which was right. But she wrote in such a manner that I was doubting my memory of the TV movie. So that's how good she is. Honestly, I was not disappointed. It was 5 stars for me. Oh gosh, that's my kids. Yeah, you can hear what I'm dealing with. So literally, even the dog is out there wanting to come inside. Anyway, it was 5 stars for me, Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. That fulfilled read your shortest backlist title. And the second was read a book on your backlist that intimidates you the most. And that was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It's just this book here. I got it from the library, but I also had a version from Audible. And it was really hard for me to get into this book. There is a trilogy that came out before this, with events that happened before these events. And it's Shadow and Bone, Sheets and Storm, Ruin and Rising. I think it's called the Grisha trilogy. Anyway, the first chapter of the book was rather straightforward, but the second was so confusing. It had so many characters and so many landmarks or places or whatever that I literally had to take notes just to keep up. I've never had to take notes reading a novel before, ever. And I was so discouraged. And then, like in the second chapter, there was entirely different viewpoint character than in the first. So I was like, wait a minute, who's that? And then in the third chapter, it was yet another person. And in the fourth chapter, it was yet another person. But I think it was like in the fifth or sixth chapter that I finally got into it. Maybe it was the sixth or the seventh, I'm not sure, but yeah, kind of probably at the 25% mark. And it was okay. It was okay. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't great for me, you know, because it was just so hard to get started. And I really don't like it when I have to try this hard to read a book. I like it to come easier for me. And this was just... But when it got going and the story got going, when everything finally, you know, the action started, so to speak, when all the preparation was done, then I started having fun with this book. But I felt like because we had so many characters that I didn't really connect with any of them, really. Not on a deep level, because I'm a reader that enjoys character-driven books, and this wasn't really a character-driven book. It was rather a plot-driven book, and I think it was probably 6 point of view characters. So I don't know. It was okay for me. 3 stars. So the third book on the list was Read a Backlist you added as a recommendation from someone else. And I was really ambitious. I decided to read manga stories. My niece lent to me 3 Blue Exorcist manga books. And I thought I was going to read all of them in a week. But I only read 1. Because also I've never read manga before, and it kind of takes time to get a hang of it, reading in reverse, so to speak, because you don't read from front to back, left to right, but the opposite. And I don't really know what I think of it just yet. My impression is that it's rather exaggerated, and like all the expressions are really exaggerated and larger than life expressions. Like when you are surprised, you're like, oh, really surprised. You know, so I think it's something that I have to get used to, and I feel like I really have to read the other 2 books to really get a feel for what I think about it. Because if I would have only read this one, I think I didn't really get much out of the story, because not much happened. It was only 4 chapters, I think it was only 4 chapters. So not much happened, and I don't really have so much a feel for how the story is going and if I really like it. I'm still just getting to know the characters a little bit. But I liked it well enough that I am going to read the other 2 books before I decide what I think about it. But I've never read anything like this before, ever. I've only read 1 comic book, except for when I was a kid, of course. And that was Wonder Woman. This is like way different from what I've ever read before, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna read the other 2 and then I'm going to decide. So, number 4, read a backlist title you are most excited for. And, oh man, I read the 2nd book in the Green Rider series by Kristen Britton. It's called The First Rider's Call, and I was not disappointed. It was so much fun. It's so good. I read this review that said it was kind of a Lord of the Rings retelling, because it kind of had all the same tropes, and I can't really deny that. But I love Lord of the Rings. And it just had the same kind of feel, and it was so much fun. I mean, I was aware that it had the same kind of feel as Lord of the Rings, but I didn't really think about the tropes at all. Afterwards, after I read that review, after I had reviewed it myself, I could see it, but it didn't spoil my fun at all. It was so much fun. It was action-packed, it was fast-paced, it was great characters, all well developed, and the way the main character develops is like makes sense, and everything in this book made sense. Of course, you know, magic never makes sense, but the way it was portrayed in this book made sense. And it was just, man, it was just so good. It was so much fun. I left this book just feeling energized and excited, and not, you know, like sometimes when you read like really good books but they take a lot out of you and you kind of feel drained and you have like this book hangover and you kind of don't feel like reading anything after it. That wasn't it with this book. I kind of just wanted to keep on going, but I had a hard time starting the next book because I wasn't gonna read the next book in the series, but something completely different. So it took me like 24 hours to get in the gear for reading something else, but I was just so energized by this book. The adventures that she's having are so like, you get deeper into the world and more into the magic, and you understand everything a little bit more, but you really want to unravel even more. And man, it was good. It was good. Let's leave it at that. I recommend this series. I do. I can't wait to read the third book. Oh. Anyway, the next book in the series, number 5, read a diverse backlist title, and I chose, what was it called? The Kingdom of Gods, which is book 3 in the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. And so far I've loved every single book that I've read by N.K. Jemisin, which is the first 2 books in this trilogy and the Broken Earth trilogy. And I've loved this author, the different way that she writes, but I put it aside after reading a quarter of it. One, because I didn't really have time to finish it in the time frame that I had. 2, I was rather disappointed with this book, honestly, because it was told from the viewpoint of Sia, which is kind of the only character that I don't like in the books. So it was kind of doomed for me. I was hoping this book would be told from the viewpoint of Nahadoth, but it wasn't, and I was so disappointed. I've barely seen Nahadoth at all in the book. I've seen Yena a little bit, and the God of Light, and whatever his name was, that was this book 2 viewpoint character. I haven't seen him at all, which is okay because I didn't really like him that much, but he was more interesting than Sia. I'm just not connecting with it right now. So I decided to put it aside until I've finished all these readathons, and I'm going to pick it up afterwards and see if I'm going to finish it, if I can get in the mood for it, because maybe I'm just not in the mood for this kind of book right now. So I'm not going to give up on it just yet. I hope I will eventually like it, because sometimes the books start off a little bit strange, but then in the end you love them. At least that's how it works for me, because they're really character-driven books and not much happens in the beginning, but by the end you really had a sense of how the character developed and everything that happened in the story makes sense. But I just don't like Sia, and I'm so disappointed. The last book in the readathon was Read a Backlist with blue on the cover, and I decided to have this book make up for that. So I used this book for 2 categories. So I kind of read 4 1/4 book, which is more than I expected considering I had 9 days. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. So until next time, bye!